Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super grateful to have you here today for another interview episode. So with me today is someone that I connected with in a group that we are both in together. And we had a great offline call, talked all things business, but a lot around mindset. And that is a topic that can never be talked about too much. It's one of those things that the 6 inches between our ears is an area that constantly needs working on and coaching with. And that's why I always look to bring on a lot of top mindset coaches that work with a lot of business professionals and service-based entrepreneurs and driven professionals. And that is who I have with me today. So Pradnya, welcome to today's episode and super grateful to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Scott. Really looking forward to having an engaging, meaningful conversation for our community and audience here.
Absolutely. So before we dive into the guts of the episode, for my audience that is not familiar with you and what you do, just say hi to everyone and what it is that you specifically work on. But more importantly, my audience always loves to know, what was that pivotal moment for you or that catalytic moment for you that has sent you down this path of entrepreneurship that you're now currently on?
What an amazing question. And I'll try to be very succinct. So allow me to start, even before I introduce myself, start with a story that gives you a peek into who I was and who I have become. So I started my journey studying biomedical engineering and, learned behavioral psychology, human physiology, neuroscience, all of that. And in the corporate world, I started my career with IBM, International Business Machines, and then Salesforce. And I worked in corporate sales enablement and execution, and then global marketing leadership. And I tell you that I feel indebted to the corporate world in how they sculpted me. So again, I'm always grateful to the corporate world. However, maybe 7th year into my professional pursuit and career, I realized that my heart lies somewhere else. I started looking for more meaning. I wanted to have a fulfilled professional journey. And for that, you have to figure out what is it that you want, and your passion has to then really come through your purpose. So what had happened is that about 7th year mark, as I said, I started feeling, a little bit that I'm in a golden cage. It's golden, but it's cage. And I started talking to the executives there, and I said, I'm not too sure if this is for me for a lifetime. And again, the executives were my well-wishers, and they meant really, really well. Okay, they gave me their heartfelt advice, but their advice to me was that, well, Pradnya, I think you need to learn to be more grateful. And from their perspective, I get it, because in 7th year with IBM, they had entrusted me with a multi-million-dollar sales responsibility as a client exec, selling just to major accounts in the Silicon Valley, Apple, Cisco, Intel, and Cadence, right? So was I growing day in and day out? Okay, but was I fulfilled? Nada, zippo. So thankfully, I had the awareness and say, okay, you know what? There is more out there for me. I'm going to be on this journey. And then one thing led to another, and I started. So now to answer, Scott's question about what was a pivotal moment, I started working with the mindset material to, quote unquote, fix myself, to get myself on track and really live a life that's in alignment with my purpose and values and gives me fulfillment. And during that process, and here's a rhetorical question for you. During that process, I woke up to a lot of things that I had not studied in school or in the corporate journey or career, right? Which is who I am, what mind is. It's not my brain. I had studied neuroscience, right? What's the relationship of your mind to your behavior, to your results? What is self-image? How do you live inside out, right? How do you really tackle that fear, that terror barrier that you confront when you're really going after what you truly want? And when I woke up to all of this, I realized that no matter how much I had learned, I did not learn much about myself. And I'll wrap it up in a sentence and then allow me to come to my introduction. Our confidence comes from knowing. You're confident if you're a bike rider that you can ride a bike because you know how to ride it. If you're a swimmer, you know how to swim, so you're confident you will swim, right? But then the self-confidence comes from knowing ourselves, knowing oneself. And that is the piece that was missing that got me started on this journey. And then again, in closing, I would say there was a line, that came to me about almost 9 or 10 years ago. Live with a purpose, act with passion, honor the chance to leave your mark serving the world. And it stayed in my heart. So with that, again, as Scott introduced me, my name is Pradnya Leitner, and I'm a mindset-based, personal and business success coach for purpose-driven entrepreneurs and professionals. And in a sentence or two, what I do, I help people set a meaningful goal that's way beyond their comfort zone, that's way beyond what they have previously accomplished. And then step by step, I help them transform their thinking, their mindset, their beliefs, their behaviors, their habits, and then ultimately thereby their results. So it's again an internal transformation that leads to the external life and business transformation. So Scott, does that suffice?
Absolutely. What, that everything starts on the inside. But before we dive into that, you worked for one of the largest companies in the world. What would you say was the biggest takeaway or biggest asset that was given to you by working for a company of that size that, in a lot of the foundations of who they are and what they were was ahead of the game? And, how did that advantage, or how did that lesson play into what you're doing now?
Man, you're a great interviewer. I would say just two things that come to my mind. That knowledge is power, but it's only potential power, Scott. It's what we do with that knowledge or don't do with it, which again is determined by mindset, is critical. And this was way before I embarked on the path of, mindset mentoring. So again, some people are unconscious competence. And the challenge when we're unconscious competent, Scott, is that I could be really successful in the professional arena, but I could be really having tough time in maybe health or fitness or relationship, right? That is the challenge. So again, knowledge is power, but it's only potential power. It's what you do with that knowledge or don't do with it that determines the extent to which you will accelerate and succeed in life. And then the second critical lesson that I learned in my corporate career, again, as an unconscious competent back then when I was in the corporate career or world, is that you are an entrepreneur, no matter which company that you work for. What does that mean? Let's say in corporate sales, company provides you resources and enablement and set number of clients that you will serve. But it's ultimately, you have to take ownership of your results and responsibility for your results. And by that, I mean, again, you're solving, your clients' problems, providing amazing solutions, becoming clients' best advocate. And in return, the clients are trusting in you and paying, the company for the products and services that you're selling on behalf of the company. So again, you're an entrepreneur. And when you take that ownership and responsibility, you will take that lesson with you when you make that switch from an employee world to an entrepreneurial world. You will take 100% responsibility. So those are the two things that come to my mind.
So, mindset is one of those like taboo type things, or I would say buzzwords, because a lot of people hear about mindset and personal development and, doing the inner work. And, I can attribute the success that my wife and I have with what we do is because we're constantly turning the mirror around on ourselves, because that's our competition. That's the person that is standing in our way of really achieving all of our goals. There was a big portion of my life where I played the blame game, I was the victim. It was never my fault. I always blamed it on some sort of external or internal circumstance, and I didn't take ownership. And it was a very direct conversation I had with my wife. We were out to dinner, and she goes, listen, from this day forward, there's no more you playing the victim card. You own and take responsibility for all your actions or things that have or have not happened that have gotten you to where you are and where you're not where you want to be. And when you take full ownership and responsibility, that's when things really start to change. So my question to you is, you don't see a lot of mindset coaching with the younger generations. You see a lot of the people that really need those mindset shifts are the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, the people that are, maybe have been in a corporate career for so long, and, they're just on rinse, wash, and repeat, Groundhog's Day, same day, over and over again. For that person that's listening to this, that has those internal struggles, the dialogue in their mind is one where they're pointing the finger and they're blaming all these other circumstances. What's a simple way that person can start shifting their thought process to one of taking on and owning those things in order to shift their life into a more positive direction?
Powerful question again. Allow me to begin with a couple of examples, and then I'll come to your question. Regardless of if somebody is an entrepreneur or a business professional executive, right? Business problems are almost always life and mindset problems disguised as business problems. And I'll substantiate my claim there. What do I mean by that? Let's say if somebody doesn't feel confident. I opened up the conversation saying that, I'm confident I can swim because I know how to swim. But I don't know me, but it's the me that's running the business. So when you understand more about yourself, who you are, that everything gets created twice, once in your mind, and then secondly, externally. Now, this might seem like a big claim, but it doesn't matter which way you skin the cat. Neuroscience, psychology, spirituality, quantum physics, it all alludes to the same thing, that you are an energetic being. And I come from the science background, so this is not a voodoo conversation. Biomedical engineering, we studied a lot of things, right? You and I, everybody, we're an energetic being. We live in this physical body and we have an intellect that we call mind. That mind, for the first many years, when I was in the undergrad studying biomed, right? Biomedical engineering, I thought it's my brain. It's not my brain. Mind is brain in action. So when we truly start understanding where we are internally, which is going to manifest or show up on the physical plane, better word yet, over time, not overnight, then we stay persistent in here in the inside world, no matter the challenges or maybe tribulations and celebrations, right? So we've got to understand, and a person who does not know and feels disempowered, they've got to understand that there's a lot that's locked up within them. And these are not motivational cute lines. I mean, I started my own series too, where I'm explaining some of these things, where I believe that when people have toothache, they know they need to go to the dentist. When people get stagnated in life, they might be really, senior executive or a very successful entrepreneur, maybe earning multi-million dollars. But if they don't change and grow from within, they will stay multi-million dollar earning entrepreneur or an executive. To be able to grow, you've got to grow from within. Second example, let's say if somebody has imposter syndrome, they don't know how powerful they are, that the life force, source energy, universe, whatever you want to call it, right? In quantum physics, you will call it the field, right? It is at our beck and call, but it depends on how we're using our intellect, our mind. So here's a very important point, Scott. Just knowing about mindset, you with me? And being able to apply it on a moment by moment basis to yourself are two very distinct things. Just like goal setting is different from goal accomplishment. You and I can, in our imagination, go where we want to go. And if our self-concept is strong enough, we say, I want that, but then we have to become that person from within. And here's what I will say, okay? National Science Foundations, Scott, talks about it. We think about 60 to 72,000 thoughts a day. That's one thought every waking minute of every hour. Okay. Now, 80 to 95% of those thoughts, or 85 to 90% of those thoughts, are the same thoughts that we thought yesterday. And a big portion of that are thoughts that are limiting thoughts, fear-based thoughts, right? So here's my polite rhetorical question to you and I, because you and I are no exception. We have to go through the same growth. If we're reliving yesterday today, and thereby creating tomorrow that's a replica of yesterday, our life ought to stay stagnated. But if we are choosing to start thinking differently today, not just at the intellectual conscious mind level, but understand how to use our thinking to change our subconscious, unconscious, conditioned mind, then we can accelerate. If I may, I'll wrap it up on this, discipline, which is another big thing for, professionals or individuals, entrepreneurs. Let's say discipline and procrastination. Discipline becomes a de facto standard when we have really understood how to cultivate habits. What the heck is habit? Habit is an idea that we act upon without giving any conscious thought to it. If my 3-year-old starts putting her clothes, who knows, maybe her pair of pants are going to be on her head, or 2-year-old, right? But I don't do that. I can talk to you and I can, just do whatever I have to do. Even if I was eating, I don't spend a single minute of time. Am I chewing correctly? Am I biting my tongue? Am I putting the fork or spoon directly in my mouth? Imagine and look at a 4-year child or 3-year child. They will smear their food all over their face, right? So that's habit life. You and I also have habits, ton of habits. So when we know who we're becoming to accomplish the goal that we want to accomplish, we have to also cultivate habits, thinking habits, belief habits, right? Energetic emotional level habits, expectancy level habits, attitude level habits, and thereby then execution level habits. Here's where I will wrap it up. Execution is the name of the game. Okay, Scott, get it. I get it. But two entrepreneurs working, let's say in the same field or industry, selling similar sort of products and services, right? Having gone through, let's say, a similar sort of enablement. Why is it that one entrepreneur goes past, blows past through their own expectation, whereas the other is suffering and struggling? They both have God-given potential, infinite potential, but the way one is operating is different than the other. Now you might say, well, Pradnya, makes sense. The one person that's really accelerating thinks differently, expects differently, has a better self-esteem, has more grit, has more confidence, and all of that, right? Which the other one does not have. Right? But where are those things? I mean, I'm looking at, you, and you're looking at me, but where is my thoughts, my mindset, my belief, my expectation, my attitude, my self-esteem? I mean, the list goes on. Again, it's the invisible side of our personality to and through our behavior, execution, sculpts the visible side of our results. So in closing, execution's got to be right on the money, but with the self-concept and internal mindset and energy right on the spot, right on money for that action to be successful. Otherwise, it's always a Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And before we start to close down, it's apparent that you've done the work and you're now on the other side of things, but we're all a work in progress.
So true.
When you were going through your transformational journey to get to where you are now and where you're going to go beyond, what would you say was the biggest challenge or obstacle that you had to face when you were making those changes in your life to get to where you are now and where you're going to be going?
Two things that come to my mind. First is understanding that intellectual comprehension of this material is very different from embodiment, internalization, and application of this material. That was a very important one because now my little one is not so little. My son is 11 and my daughter is 8 now. So I've been talking to them, and for them to understand all of this was really easy. But to apply it in the heat of the moment, but to apply it, that is where your growth is. And that application requires, constant repetition of this information and emotionally getting involved in it until it becomes your personal philosophy, de facto standard, right? So that's what comes to my mind. So that was a learning curve. That was a learning curve when I was in the corporate world and began to work on myself. And then the second one is that, I would say, sometimes because we didn't learn much about mindset, about how we operate on the intangible, invisible, non-physical side, which is all in the mindset, right? We expect the evidence to show up. And if the evidence of our goal materializing does not show up, we start doubting. Here's my request to our listeners, okay? Price Pritchard, the guy who wrote the book U Squared, phenomenal teacher, PhD in psychology, and mentored Fortune 500 executives, board members, whatnot, said that if you must doubt something, doubt your own doubts, because your doubts are the product of habitual thinking, not accurate thinking, right? And so if that's the case, and we're going to divorce the doubt, then what the heck are we going to do? We're going to learn to believe. But it's not just a cute motivational line or lip service that I'm providing. We're going to start believing in the ideas, the images, the vision that we have more so than we believe in possibly it not coming to fruition. And as we believe it, we empower ourselves to change from within with habit, life, execution, all of that, for us to see it. So again, we have to believe it to be able to see it. So that is where I'll wrap it up. That was my journey, where I had to grow tremendously.
Love that. And before I get to my final question, for anyone that listened to today's episode, tell people how you work with them and what is the best way that they can find out more about how you help them and how you can connect with them on social media.
Oh, lovely. I do believe that hearing this information and comprehending, as I said, it intellectually is much easier. So my commitment to my clients is that I work with them for a solid year. And that is when it's combination of two things. One is the material that they study with me, but two, it's my coaching. And that coaching container constitutes of the coaching call, Q&A calls, as well as embodiment or internalization application calls. And with combination of these three calls, they start understanding truly who they are, the power of their mind, right? They get their questions answered. So there is no doubts. There's more and more clarification, life related experiential things that they're getting and seeking help with. And then lastly, on the embodiment or internalization calls, they're not just becoming parrots and pundits who can recite this information. They're accelerating in life and absolutely shifting many areas of their life, not just professional life, because when you grow, you can't help but let that growth percolate in almost all areas of your life. So that's how I work. And for people to connect with me, I have really chosen to be way more active. And Scott's probably gonna slap my hand. But in the corporate world, I was more so on LinkedIn, but I have been really active on Facebook as well as Instagram. So Facebook was probably the best way to connect with me. People can join my group, Growth and Fulfillment Mindset, which is a Facebook group that we created, and we're just about to open it to the public, where I can really offer, condense, concentrated value. And here's where I'll wrap it up, Scott. Because as I said, when people have toothache, they know they need to go to the dentist, but with mindset, they don't. So my responsibility is to educate, enable people, so then they can make that informed decision as to, is this something that's of value to them or not? So again, connect with me on social, Pradnya Leitner, or you can, when I say social, Facebook, pardon me, or you can simply join my group, Growth and Fulfillment Mindset. It's a Facebook.
Awesome. And all that information is going to be in the description of this episode, so people can click right on it, connect with you on Facebook, and even join your Facebook group. So final question before we end today's episode: what does success truly mean to you?
Don't you all just love, Scott here? What does success mean to you? My heartfelt yet spontaneous answer is that it's one life. It's one bite at the apple, right? This is not a dress rehearsal. There's no second chance. So we've got to play by our own rules. By that, I mean, I like the definition that Earl Nightingale had. Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Ideal is an idea that has possessed you, speaks to your heart, and it's worthy of you because you're trading your life for it. So what is the worthy ideal? For some of you, you want to be great entrepreneurs. For some of you, you want to be executives. For some of you, you want to be in politics. For some of you, you want to be great teachers and homemakers. I don't know what that is, but don't live by somebody else's standards and approvals. Just really figure out what speaks to your heart, and then devote time to become the person who would accomplish that goal. Because then, that along with that success will come tremendous and deep amount of fulfillment, which is again, what we're all on this journey for.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Love that quote. Love Earl Nightingale, and just really appreciate you, and grateful again that you came onto the show today, share your love and your knowledge and all of your wisdom with my audience. So thank you again so much for being here today.
Scott, I just want to say in closing from my side, I mean, you're rendering so much value because you've created the platform where you're bringing the experts and continually rendering value to your audience. Thank you very much. And not just for inviting me to this podcast, but also for the work you do. I mean, your people probably know it, but your name is talked about in our community of, lots and lots of entrepreneurs and stellar and accomplished entrepreneurs. Your name is talked about even by outsiders. They refer to you. So I look forward to learning from you about the LinkedIn, platform. Wow. All right. Thank you very much, Scott.
Absolutely. I appreciate those kind words. And again, all of the information of how to connect with Pradnya is going to be in the episode description. So you don't have to go too far. It's right there. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.